Ugarte has been spotted arriving at Carrington for his Manchester United medical. A late Lindelof exit could happen, a late Eriksen exit could happen, and in fact, United could make a late move for Ivan Toney. Reports coming out saying that Sancho to Juventus has agreed, but how reliable are those reports? Because there's other reports coming out about a Sancho Sterling swap deal. What is the latest on that? An interesting leak coming out saying that Erik ten Hag didn't want Ugarte. What is the truth behind that story and more? Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football. I do apologise if we are getting a little bit of lag. I'm not really sure what's going on with the Wi-Fi while I'm recording this, but I'm going to get right into the news and hopefully the picture clears up a little bit if it does lag. And going into this first story, this is Ugarte via The Sun arriving at Carrington for his Manchester United medical. So you can't really see Ugarte in there, if we're going to be totally honest, but he arrived late last night after his plane landed in Manchester around 10 p.m, was spotted about getting to Carrington around 11:30 last night via The Sun. And why is Manuel Ugarte in Carrington? Well, that is for his Manchester United medical. Manuel Ugarte will have his Manchester United medical today. Medical tests are ongoing for Manuel Ugarte to be a new United player. Documents are being exchanged between United and PSG. So as we speak, Ugarte is having his Man United medical, and he has also been spotted inside Manchester for that. McTominay is now set to go to Italy, flying the other way for his Napoli medical, going out with Lukaku today as well. So there is a bit of a double medical ongoing inside United. But I want to get into this story, which I don't totally believe, if I'm going to be honest with you, but it's been doing the rounds a little bit. I've seen a few people talking about it, and this is a report that apparently Sancho to Juventus has been agreed. I don't know how reliable this source is, but a couple aggregator accounts have been tweeting out that breaking Juventus and Manchester United have reached an agreement for Jadon Sancho. So either we're going to hear something in the next few hours from Romano Ornstein or a good journalist, or this is absolute BS. But keep an eye on this, because there is reports coming out that United and Juventus have reached an agreement on Sancho, but they're not giving details. They're not saying if we've reached an agreement to get him on loan. They're not saying if we've reached an agreement to bring him in permanently. They're just claiming that we've reached an agreement. But I feel like if it was a proper report, they would say this is the terms of the agreement, this is the price. Because you're breaking it, you should surely know the details. Is it a loan? Is it an obligation to buy? Is it a buy option alone? Is it a permanent deal? But there is obviously reports coming out that about an agreement between United and Juventus for Sancho. Now, one thing I will say on the whole Jadon Sancho case and the whole Jadon Sancho situation is it has been heavily reported that Manchester United are a lot further. Sorry, it has been heavily reported that Juventus have been a lot more advanced than Chelsea this last week, a lot further ahead. But Juventus made it clear they won't do a permanent deal. They may need to get Chiesa out first, who's been linked to Liverpool and Barcelona. Has been reported that Juventus are well ahead of that deal, but Juventus are trying to do a buy option rather than an obligation to buy, which is stalling up the deal. And if Juventus aren't going to do an obligation to buy, United aren't going to give them to Juventus because they want clarity that there will be a permanent move, which is why maybe United could lean towards the Sterling and Chelsea deal, because at least they get Sterling in return. Not that I'm saying we should swap Sancho for Sterling. I wouldn't swap Sancho for Sterling. I don't think it's the best deal, but I think United don't want Sancho here. They want Sancho out of the club, and they're thinking if he goes on loan with an option to buy and they don't buy him, we're stuck with him next year. Maybe United could lean towards Chelsea if it's true that Juventus aren't that keen on doing an obligation to buy and only want an option to buy. Continue on. Manchester United open talks for Raheem Sterling, but a swap deal for Jadon Sancho will only happen on the club's terms. Dan Ashworth discussed the possibility with Chelsea today. So there was conversations about a Sancho-Sterling swap deal, but Man United said they'll only entertain the swap deal on their terms, which would probably be like 15 million up front and then the straight player swap, I'd assume. I think Sancho, because of his age, is worth a lot more than Sterling. It's also because of Sterling's wages on 300k a week. They would only do it if Sterling significantly lowered his wages as well. Romano has confirmed that Sancho would be open to a move to Chelsea. Graham Bailey confirmed that United held talks with Raheem Sterling's entourage, and it was confirmed earlier today that talks over Sterling and Sancho have centred on all options, including a loan, player open to move, but only on club-to-club talks for now. And Sam C says that Manchester United won't take Sterling on stupid terms, as he has issues he needs to resolve with Chelsea before any move. So when we're first linked to Sterling, I didn't think there was much in it. I thought it was a negotiation tactic to speed up Juventus. Juventus is still more advanced in that situation for Sancho. They're still having talks with United. They're trying to negotiate a loan and all of that as well. But Juventus, if they're not going to give us the 40 million or do a loan with an obligation to buy, United may agree to do something else with a player in return, because I think they just want to get offload Sancho, but without looking desperate to offload Sancho as well. So it'll be an interesting one to see. Because if I'm being totally honest, it doesn't look like an Ineos deal. It doesn't look like an Ineos deal at all. 29, 300 grand a week, not been good the last 2 seasons. Chelsea want to get rid of him for a reason. there's a lot of red flags around the Sterling deal. Like, I like Sterling. I don't think he's a bad player. I think he could definitely offer something. But I just think with his age, with his form, I can't really get behind it. I just think we're helping Chelsea out. I think the big red flag for me is that we are helping Chelsea out. And I don't want to help Chelsea out. Do you know what I mean? Because they always win. If you do a business with Chelsea, they always get the better end of the deal. Anyway, talking to Chelsea and Manchester United, could there be a late battle ongoing for Ivan Toney? Manchester United have held initial talks over a late deal for Ivan Toney, but securing a move to Chelsea remains the forward's priority ahead of the transfer deadline. To be honest, I don't think Man United or Chelsea particularly need Ivan Toney, but I think Chelsea need him more because Chelsea's only out-and-out striker is Nicholas Jackson, so I can understand. Well, actually, they've got those young players in, but they don't seem to play those young players. I can understand Chelsea needing a striker more than Ivan Toney. And I think Ivan Toney, while I like him and I think he's a good player, I don't think United need him. We signed Xerxes, we signed Højlund. If we're going to bring in another attacker, I want someone that can play on the wings because I think Xerxes and Højlund are young. I don't want to ruin their development. If Ivan Toney comes in, he's going to demand to start. He's going to demand to play. And if he doesn't play, he's going to cause issues. So the way I see it is, for me, I'm not bothered about getting Ivan Toney. Maybe United make a late move there. We've been talking about Ivan Toney throughout the whole summer. Reliable sources have linked us to Ivan Toney, so we know that United genuinely do have an interest in Ivan Toney. So it could be one to watch, but I think he's more likely to go to Chelsea than United at this point as well, and I'm not too fussed about it. If we bring an attacker, I want a winger. I don't want Sterling. I'd like a young, exciting winger, Bakayoko, Diao, something like that. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I think what the situation is, McTominay's gone, Ugarte comes in, Sancho goes, maybe another attacker comes in, maybe it's Sterling, maybe it's Toney, maybe it's someone we haven't linked to. Maybe there's a surprise there. Now, we're not getting a left back. There's some reports saying we could go for a second midfielder with Amrabat still on. That could be one to watch. Winger could be one to watch. But as of now, I don't think there's anything going on with Ivan Toney. I think he's focused on Chelsea. But I know that United have always had a sort of minor interest in Toney throughout the window. So there's a report coming out that Lazio are interested in Victor Lindelof. Now, Victor Lindelof's agent had talks with Italian clubs throughout the window. Man United told Lindelof in May you can look for clubs and all of that. He's not in the plans. And Victor Lindelof's agent has been having talks with clubs from France, Italy, Turkey. And, there was a report maybe a month ago that suggested that Lindelof to Italy was quite likely. It was really likely he was going to leave. But because of Lindelof's injury, that could have been a setback. Now, Laurie Whitwell is saying that Victor Lindelof's set to stay because his injury is hampering his departure. Dimarzio is saying there is interest in Lindelof. Now, from what I'm hearing, is there's interest in Lindelof, and Man United said they'll sell Lindelof for $6 million. So clubs are interested in Lindelof, like Lazio. Lindelof, if he leaves United, has to take a wage cut. Lindelof also has made it clear that, he wants to, have his United wages for the next year. And if he leaves on a 3 years, 1 more options, and 2, he gets a signing or bonus for his next club. So I think Lindelof just wants the money and is probably going to stay and happy to be 6th choice centre-back for the money, which is a shame. But it's what players do at United. We have to give them payouts or they stay and run down their contract for the money. So I don't think Victor Lindelof is leaving, but there is interest in him. So it's one to watch. Eriksen may take a wage cut and there's interest in him. So Eriksen and Lindelof are definitely ones to watch. Mejbri has been sold. McTominay's having his medical today. Ugarte's having a medical today. Lindelof and Eriksen are definitely ones to watch. Sancho's obviously one to watch as well. We'll have to see what happens. But I want to talk about McTominay because McTominay's having his medical. But I remember this report. I think it's a really silly report, but we're just going to cover it. A jealous teammate once privately dubbed McTominay a teacher's pet due to his penchant for endearing himself to a new manager. McTominay occupied key roles in teams of Mourinho, Solskjaer, Carrington, Rangnick, and Erik ten Hag. I like McTominay because of his attitude. He's being called a teacher's pet because he listens, because he works hard, he gives 100%. McTominay was the teacher's pet. He worked hard. He gave 100% for this club. And while he wasn't good enough to start and he's not going to be in the long-term plans of United, he's a good player that does a job, that gave absolutely everything for United, and probably is an example to some of the big wage players that came in and high transfers and did nothing and stopped and caused issues. McTominay never caused problems. McTominay worked incredibly hard. And you know what? If he's a teacher's pet, so be it. I've questioned McTominay's ability. I've questioned if he should start for United, but I'll never question his work rate and attitude. He's probably one of the best players we've had in terms of how hard he works and what he gives for the club. Now, interestingly, the Muppeteers claim that McTominay didn't want the Fulham move. He also rejected Everton. There was a disagreement between the club and Ten Hag on McTominay. Wilcox and the club really like Ugarte. Ten Hag wasn't too keen. Ten Hag pushed back against Ugarte and wanted to keep McTominay, interestingly. Now, I don't know how much I believe this because I don't think Ineos would do something that's completely against Ten Hag, despite Ineos being in control. But at the same time, I think we needed Ugarte this season more than we need McTominay. And I think McTominay having 1 year left on his deal, getting 30 million in pure FFP profit for him is the right decision because he's not good enough to start. And do we want to give a new deal to someone that's not going to start? This is our last chance to cash in on him and we let him go for free. So I think, selling McTominay and bringing Ugarte was the right decision from Ineos. And maybe that's an example of why it's good to have proper footballing people at the club because Ten Hag can't make every decision. It was also said per Di Marzio that United and Napoli have exchanged all the documents from McTominay. He's expected in Italy tomorrow, so it is basically a done deal. He's expected in Italy today because that came out last night. And in regards to Mejbri to Burnley, Man United have a 50% sell-on clause, a buyback clause, matching rights for any future sales, and 5.4 million fee with 4 million add-ons. I think Man United got a very good deal for Mejbri in the end when you consider how bad we've been at selling. But listen, people, please hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I do apologise if you got a little bit of lag at times throughout recording. Thank you for watching. See you next time.